Is Ford the interior design leader in the automobile market right now? I think there's a pretty strong argument that the answer is yes. All right, welcome back to All Cars, y'all. I'm John, and before you start into the comments, okay, because I know what you're thinking, what the heck is he talking about? Give me a minute to walk you through this little mental exercise I did with myself this morning. And there's three things that got me thinking about this. Now, first off, I've got to say that I'm not saying that Ford is building better interiors than Mercedes or Genesis or something like that. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. Ford is a mid-level, mid-market, mass-market manufacturer. They've got to really focus on balancing value with quality. You know, what can they do to maximize that value? At a higher level, it's easier to just buy better materials, and then it all comes down to the design, the style of it. It's easier to put in bigger screens, for example. But it's harder at this level when you're Ford competing against Honda, Toyota, Chevy, Mitsubishi, GMC, we'll throw them in there too, to design something that's cheap to manufacture, but not oppressive. Right? There's great examples in the past of cheap interiors done poorly. But it's hard to do a cheap interior well without starting to spend a lot more money on it. So thought number one was when I was walking around, and I did a video recently when I was at the Ford dealership, and I did a tour through their showroom, and I was impressed with the interiors of a lot of their cars. It is cheap. I'm not going to deny that. All right, this is kind of softy touch. This is a little softy touch. This is, it's okay. But it's just a little nicer, and touches like this with the black, with the stitching and the two-tone. This really turns out to be a super nice interior. I noted in that video that multiple locations, the materials were cheap. They were hard plastics, but they used a mix of plastics. Some of it was soft touch, then there was some hard touch here, and then a different hard touch that looked more like fake wood, and then especially the Escape, that high level Escape I did, it was a black flat plastic, but it almost had veins in it. And then they do a little bit of bright work, or a little bit of something a different color. And some of the edges didn't work for me, but I realized as I toured one after the other, and certainly when I went back and edited that video, I realized how much I like the interiors. And I have trouble explaining why. I know the plastics are hard, and the fake woods are unconvincing, and the ergonomics are solid, if not outstanding, but overall, I ended up with a very favorable opinion of them as a place to live, work, and drive. That got me thinking about part number two, and certainly Lincoln is doing a fantastic job with their interiors right now. But that got me thinking about number two, which is when the Maverick was being released, I saw a video and they had somebody show up. I'm going to look for it and see if I can put a clip in here. They had this guy show up, and he was like the design director. And he was talking about they chose a palette, a plan at the early stages of designing the Maverick.
Motor Company, and I'm here to talk to you today about the new Maverick interior. We tried some very new things on this product, including bright orange accents in the interior, stone face textures, as well as speckled plastics. Specifically trying not to create fake leather or fake materials, being honest about the material utilization. What's great about this?
Well, I just watched Doug DeMuro's review of the Maverick, the released version, and he talked a lot about, like, the door panels are hard plastic, they're cheap, but they're interesting. They're molded to fit that water bottle. They've got diamonds in them. That the seats look like, he says tweed, I think denim, but they've got orange stitching. He's got this hard plastic that's certainly cheap, but it's kind of silvery. Orange accents everywhere. I don't think that other manufacturers don't have some kind of design director. I don't believe in my heart that the engineering director of Chevy is like, oh, you just pick that black plastic and that gray one right there and just make it happen. I believe they have somebody who's trying to pull this together, like an interior designer on your house, mixing materials and style into something that comes across holistically, while minimizing their cost and maximizing the style. That's what I think a lot of Fords are doing very, very right now. Whether it's that Escape, that Bronco Sport, or that Explorer I just looked at, every one of them I came away with a positive opinion of the interiors. Now, a couple didn't quite work for me. That Edge, not so much. The F-150 was pretty freaking awesome. But I argue that when you look at other manufacturers out there and some of what they're doing with weird geometries, things that aren't symmetrical, boring plastic color choices, Ford's at least doing something interesting. Putting in these accents, using these different materials, mixing it up a little bit. And so while they might have interiors that you could argue objectively were cheap plastic, they're doing it in a way that comes together so that I believe it's the greater than the whole. And that would honestly be a good place, a nice place to be for a long time. And sets them apart from some of their competitors who do one of two things, which is prioritize price and end up with stuff that's a little weird, or spend the money on the interior and end up with something that's stylish but drab. For that example, I'm going to give Mazda. I love Mazdas. I respect Mazdas. And many times people have pointed out Mazdas have a near luxury interior. And I don't deny that from the quality of the materials and the design and the little touches of bright work they put in there. But more often than not, they end up using black on top, black on the bottom, black carpet, black seats, and ends up drab. Several years ago, my wife and I went to an auto show, and I was excited to show her the Mazda 6. She sat in it, and with an instant was like, no, not this one. Absolutely not. Hated the interior, even though the materials were pretty good. So I want to give props to Ford here that I can't think of a manufacturer that's, let's say, doing more with less. For example, I think some of the new Nissans have got beautiful interiors. I think, Toyota uses high quality materials. I think Honda uses high quality materials. Chevy, they can do some weird things in there. But is there a manufacturer that when you look at it, you get the mix of materials, the mix of textures, it's value engineered, but it looks stylish and like a nice place to be? Maybe like a Swedish farmhouse. That's my thoughts today, guys. Let me know your thoughts.